England, the year 1264, and King Henry III has renounced the provisions of Oxford, which insisted he governed by consultation with the landowning barons. But he continued to reign by autocratic rule. The barons rebelled and flocked to the banner of Simon de Montfort, 6th Earl of Leicester. Thus began the Second Barons' War. And in the early months of 1264, we saw both the royalists and the rebels move to secure key castles. Henry III's strongest support was in the Midlands, which he secured by attacking rebel garrisons in Northampton, Leicester and Nottingham before relieving Rochester Castle, which was under siege by a rebel army. The king then marched south to Lewes, where the castle was loyal to him, hoping to rest his army and to acquire reinforcements before finally engaging the rebels. Simon de Montfort had other ideas, however, and was keen to resolve the war before the king became too strong. He marched his army to Fletching, just 8 miles to the north of Lewes, and from there he made overtures to the king, who rejected them out of hand. The king wrote Montfort, "We therefore let you know that you are all defied as public enemies by each and all of us, and that henceforth, whenever occasion offers, we will fight with all of our might." And having received this message, on the morning of 14th of May 1264, in the early hours, de Montfort marched his army to Lewes and readied them for battle. Hello and welcome once again to Solo Board Gaming presents In the Name of Justice, the Battle of Lewes 1264. This is the folio version from White Dog Games and designed by Dale Gutt. We covered the introduction to this game in the first video, so if you would like an overview, maybe pop back and check that out. Today we're going to do a play demo. We're actually going to start the fight of the Battle of Lewes in 1264, and we're going to demonstrate 3 or 4 player turns so that most of the rules get demonstrated. I hope all of them, but we'll see how that goes. And you could always fight the battle yourselves, of course, to take it to its conclusion, because the game is very freely available right now. So if I just remove this and we'll take a quick look at the map. Again, I introduced the map in the last video. We had a good look around it. This is the area of Lewes in East Sussex, not far from Brighton on the south coast of England. Dominated, as you can see, by Offham Hill here. And actually, you can still see today how dominant those heights are above the town. We've got the castle here, where Prince Edward spent the night before the battle, and he was ensconced with his mounted force in the castle there, and the town of Lewes itself surrounded by its walls and gates in the north and the south of the town. And just across the Winterbourne stream here we have St Pancras Priory, where King Henry III spent the night before the battle, and he awoke that morning apparently and went to take breakfast, and as he came out into the open air he noticed people pointing up to the distant hills, and he looked in that direction and he could see Simon de Montfort's forces forming up on the hill. It's a beautiful map. I like the colours, I like the detail, I like how the castle is presented and the priory, both of which you can still see today. For instance, here is St Pancras Priory and the castle itself. And we've got St Mary's Church, or St Mary's West Out as it was at the time, Snelling's Mill, which played a part in the battle. And Fletching, and we spoke about the small hamlet of Fletching as it was back then in the introduction, is just off to the east that way. Okay, so that's the map, and let's look at the setups now. Brilliant part about this game is the fact that you've got 3 potential setups. Let's just have a quick look. In the name of justice, ward leader setup. Now, this gives us the hex numbers where we can set up the various ward leaders in the game. And as you can see, the rebel barons, they have 5 different ward leaders, and the royal forces just have 3 different ward leaders. But these are the hexes they can all set up in, and there's 3 different setups. You have the earliest, the 5 a.m. setup, as researched by Carpenter in 2014, in a 2014 publication. You have the designers setup, and I played my full game using the designers setup. I really like that. That was the setup as per 6 a.m. on the day. And by 7 a.m. we have the English Heritage, a third possible setup, who in 1995 produced their own research on the battle, and it shows a setup very, very differently. Very briefly, the Carpenter setup, and that's the one we'll do today, shows the forces closer to the town of Lewes. The designer setup is sort of in between, if you like. The forces just a few more hexes forward, and the English Heritage setup, which has, for instance, the royal forces set up right the way forward on the hill across here. So let's go ahead and let's do the Carpenter setup as researched in a publication of 2014. Okay, this is the setup. We've got the royalist forces here coming out to meet, and they're in silver. It's these 3 silver leaders here coming out to meet the rebel barons, who have marched from Fletching up the hill here, and they're now formed up on the forward slopes of the hill overlooking Lewes. So these gold ones here, these gold counters, are the ward leaders. Each of these gold counters leads one of the wards or one of the wings of battle. Here you've got Henry Montfort. Here you've got De Clare. Here you've got Seagrave, who is commanding the Londoner contingent. Here in reserve, higher up the hill, you've got Simon de Montfort and Pevelston. Facing them, we have Henry III over on the left flank. We have Cornwall in the centre near Snelling's Mill. And you have quite far over on the right, you have the Prince Edward. Now, the rules tell us we can now set up their respective wards within 2 hexes of the ward leader. So let's go ahead and do just that. And here we are finally set up on the map. By the way, in the interim, as I was setting up, I realised I'd made a huge boo-boo. I'd forgotten to put my plexi on. So I went to find my plexi and plonked the plexi on top of the map, as you can see. I just hope we're not getting too much glare. There's a lot of variable daylight around at the moment, although I've got artificial light on as well. The daylight coming through the windows is very variable due to the weather. Okay, so here we are. So we have our ward leaders set up in the same place where you saw them before. Now, for instance, if we take Henry III here, he's in the centre of his ward. I'd like him to be in the front, but because of the fact that we're limited to all of the units have to be set up within 2 hexes. It's very difficult before their first turn. They all tend to be sort of bunching. And we'll hope to open them out a little bit as we start moving. As I was saying, if you go to Henry III, this is the king here. You'll see his movement points there, 6 movement points because he's mounted. Now that number 4, the blue figure, number 4 there, in fact, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit, I think, on that. Let's go in like so. There we go. Let's see if that's any good. So that blue number 4 there, that's his command radius. So his command radius cannot cross walls, and it cannot go through enemy zones of control. But otherwise, apart from that, as long as units are within 4 hexes of the army commander here, then they are in command. Let's contrast that, for instance, with Cornwall's ward here, and you can see his command radius is 3. While we're looking at the King's ward here, you'll see that most of it is made up of men-at-arms, infantry. On the left-hand side, the red number is their combat factor. So you see here, you've got 4, you can see a 2 there, a 4, a 4, a 4, 4, and a 2. The maximum amount of combat factors that you can stack within a single hex is 4. So for instance, this unit here, which has a combat factor of 2, it is stacked with another unit with a combat factor of 2. Whereas the others are combat factor 4, so they have to be stacked singly, and units can only be stacked with units of the same type. So we can't mix, for instance, cavalry with mounted units, or missile units with men-at-arms, for instance. So we have to stick to that. Their movement allowance in black is 4, and I think they're all the same there. And their morale factor is the middle number in green. So you can see there's a morale factor of 2 there, 4, and so on. There's a missile unit there, which in this case happens to be archers. They're out in front of Henry. Archers are the only ones that have a missile range of 2 hexes, and they can fire over the heads of their own troops. But there's very, very few of them. This is before the days where the longbow in huge numbers came to dominate the battlefield. We still have quite a way to go before that happens. Let's look at another unit. I'll pan back out now, I think. So that was Henry. We have, as I say, the Duke of Cornwall here. That is bunched up just beyond the gates of Lewes. He is stacked with a small unit of mounted knights, as is Henry. We have Prince Edward down here. Now his ward, which is the right flank of the Royal Army, is all mounted. It's entirely composed of mounted knights with lances, a very, very powerful cavalry force that. They're all 4 strength, as you can see, and he too is stacked with a unit of mounted knights as the bodyguard. Let's have a look at the gold ones now, which are the rebel barons. Over here you have Henry Montfort with the right flank of the rebel army. They have a couple of staff slingers here as missile units stacked together. We have another unit there, missile unit of archers, and then we have foot men-at-arms on either wing, and also Henry de Montfort himself stacked with a unit of cavalry. De Clare on this forward slope here, you can see he is stacked with a unit of cavalry. You know he's the ward commander again because you've got that blue figure there, the number 3, which shows his command radius. He has some foot units, men-at-arms there up on the slope, and a couple of missile units here stacked together because the combat factors are 2 and 2. Over to Seagrave's Londoners. He is stacked with a small unit of mounted men. Otherwise, he has men-at-arms. Nice touch there. Look, it says underneath there, under the heraldic shield, it says London. Here you have a small stack of missile units. They are slingers. The slingers, by the way, and we saw them over here as well, they only have a range of 1 hex, not 2, although they are missile units. And over on his left flank, he has a unit of men-at-arms. Then we have the rebels' reserve units here. We have Pevelsden with a range, command radius of 2, and we have the rebel army leader Simon de Montfort himself, with stacked with a unit of mounted knights. His command radius is 4, but they are small. That's a small reserve there. All in all, as you can see, the barons are certainly outnumbered. It represents, according to the rules, a royalist army strength on the day. We're probably talking about just over 7,500 and just about 5,000 for the rebel troops there. So that's the setup, and it looks like we are ready to go. So to battle then. Now, I am using one of the optional rules today. There are several optional rules, look, in the actual rule set, 7 actually, and I'm going to use the optional rule number 2, where the Seagrave Londoners, these guys here, were mainly untrained volunteers. Well, actually, a lot of the armies were like that anyway, but particularly so the Seagrave Londoners here. And back in 1264, in the real battle, Prince Edward charged his ward hard into the Seagrave Londoners, broke them immediately. They routed off the field, and Prince Edward's ward in its entire followed them off the field. And many blame that impetuous act as the reason why King Henry lost the battle. Now, when I played my first battle of this a couple of days ago, the King's forces, unlike the real battle, won the battle, beat the barons fairly comfortably. And I thought, wow, either I've played them particularly well, the dice may have been with me, I don't know why, I don't know if that's the case. But I'd like to see what happens if we actually play it historically. So I'm going to invoke that rule, optional rule number 2, which means that if any of the Seagrave Londoners retreat or are eliminated due to a charging Prince Edward unit, then both units, both wards, the Seagrave ward and Prince Edward's ward, will rout off the field, leaving the rest of the guys to fight it out. And I'd like to see what happens in that case. So I'm just invoking that rule on this occasion, just for a bit of fun. Now, we've taken all the ward activation chits and we've put them in a cup, like so. The ward activation chits show us which wards get activated when. Oh, for instance, I've just drawn Seagrave activation. There is Simon de Montfort activation. So that will tell us which wards to activate in what particular order. And we keep drawing chits until, let me just find it is in here somewhere. Here we go. Yeah. We keep drawing chits until the end turn counter is drawn. And that ends the turn. There's no more activation for that particular turn. And then the turn track indicator is moved up 1. So you don't know how long each particular turn is going to last. And that was quite amazing last time. I had some dramatic swings on those activations. So without further ado, I'm going to draw the first activation chit, and we're going to have, oh, here we go, Henry III activation. So that's my activation there. I'm just going to place it like so. So Henry III's ward here is going to activate first. Let's go. So first of all, it's movement. I'm going to go and then move it uphill here. And it's hard to move uphill. Each contour line crossed is going to cost us 2, in addition to the 1 that it would cost anyway. So he's got a movement value of 4. He's actually going to move 3 to move uphill there. This unit of archers. He's going to need some kind of, so I'm going to move this 1 and then another 3, that's 4. Got no choice but to go crashing in to the line. 1, 2. We are immediately into the fray. 1, 2. One, 2. Oops. Now, my command radius is 4. I'm going to move Henry himself up because I don't want to. These guys need to stay in command, basically. 2. Let's move them like so. 3. He's going up the hill there. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to strengthen this flank, and these guys will follow up 1 and then another 3 to start climbing the hill there. Okay, so that's their first move. Basically, they've moved towards de Montfort's right flank and crashed into them like so. The next phase is the defensive missile phase. So defensive missiles, and here we've got the slingers, the staff slingers. You see that? Of this unit here. That's such an unusual image. I do like that. That's really good. I'm going to have to do a bit more research on the slinging staffs. So these guys, and it's a stack of 2 and 2 beneath it, that's 4, are going to fire their missiles at, it could either be this stack here, which specifically says in the rules against a unit, a single unit, not a single hex. It's a single unit. So one of those units or this unit here. I think because they have 1 hex range, they will fire against these men-at-arms here. Okay, so it's the defense 4. The attacking units are 4. So it's the attackers 4 divided by the defenders 4, which is 1. So our base is 1. On the missile fire results table, which is not brilliant, to be fair. We'll roll our dice. What do we have? We have a 2. Now onto that. So no pluses there. They're not archers. They're not out of command. So it's not. It's a straight 2 dice roll on the 1 column. No result. So those stones from the staff slingers had no effect at all. Now it's the active player's missile. It's the archers, and they're on the same level here, firing at this unit here. So it's 2 strength divided by 4, which is 0.5, rounded up in favour of the attacker. So it's 1. We're on the 1 column again. Any modifiers? No modifiers. We need a high result. Come on. Come on, Henry's archers. We've got a 4 on the 1. No result. So the missile fire has had no real effect here right now. So let's take a look. Let's do some melee, because now it's melee. They've crashed into Henry Montfort's ward and we are going to melee. So I think these units here and these units here will fight this hex here. So I've got 4 there and 4, that's 8. And 4 there. Okay, 4 and 4 and 4. So 8 divided by 4 is 2. So we're starting on the 2 column. We'll roll our dice. Oh, we've got a 3. Okay, we've got a 3. Now, active leader stacked with or within their range of attacking units. Yes, they are. So I can now +3 because it's the army leader. Henry, we're within command range, is the army leader, no less. So we get a +3. 1 or more attacking units on a higher elevate. Well, we know that's not the case. No, they're all on the same level. We're not a cavalry unit. We're not we're infantry attacking a missile unit. So it's another +1. So it's +4 so far. Now the inactive leader, which is a ward leader. So there's a -2 because he's within command range. Of course he is. Just a second. Because the command radius cannot go through an enemy zone of control. That would be an enemy zone of control. So it's got to go round 1, 2, and then come back in 3. He's out of command. Well, at this stage in the turn, he's not out of command as such, but he's certainly not within the command radius of the ward leader. Okay. Whoa. Okay. So we don't get the -2. Different elevations, attacking across a bridge. No. Okay, so it's +3 for the army leader, +1 for attacking a missile unit. So that's 3 + 4 is 7. And we're on the 2 column. And we score a 7. It's a hit. Now then, the first thing that happens with a hit is that the counters get turned over to their reduced strength side. So they basically lost a step right now. I just have to take that out for a moment. Let's move. Oops. Let's turn these guys over. There we go. So this side is looking a bit precarious now for Henry Montfort. So that was a good hit of these units against these missile men here, these staff slingers. The next melee is going to be here. These 2 men-at-arms units are going to fight against Henry Montfort. Now, is he at a higher elevation? I do believe he is. Yeah, he is at a higher elevation than this guy here. So we've got 4 and 4, the combat factors, that's 8. There's only a single combat factor under there because the ward leaders don't have a combat factor. So there's a single combat factor under there, which is 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So to start off with, we're going to start on the 4 column. So that's a good start for our guys here. So let's see what modifiers we're going to have. Is King Henry the army leader? Yes, he's in command range, so army leader, so that's +3 to the die roll. We haven't rolled the die yet. +3 to the die roll. Just going down here, not a missile unit. No. So now the inactive leader, the ward leader, so that's -2. So now we're only on a +1. 1 or more attacking units on a lower elevation. Yes, they are. We're fighting uphill. So that's -2. Oh dear. So we had a +3, but we now have a -4. So -1 from the die roll. Let's go. And we've got a 2. So we've rolled a 1. And we were on 4. No results. Oh, that was hard. Now, I'll tell you what, the worst part about that was fighting uphill. That's what did it in that particular melee. It was that -2 for fighting uphill. Otherwise, we'd have scored a what? What would we have scored? We'd have scored a 3. And that would have given us a hit. So that's a huge difference, the fighting uphill thing. Okay, so that is the end. There's no more melee in that particular round. So, next activation. Oh! End turn. So that is it. We've got to advance the turn marker. We started at 5 a.m. We're now at 6 a.m. So we've advanced the turn marker. And we put these 2 counters, these 2 chits, back in the cup. Like so. Now, there's the end of turn tidy up, where we would remove any charge markers and that kind of thing. And we're into game turn 2. So, Henry gets first draw. Da, 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 da. Come on, Henry, what are you going to draw? Oh, it's a Baron's activation. And it's going to be Pevelsden. There it is, the Pevelsden ward is going to be active first in this turn. And Pevelsden forms part of the reserve, does he not? So, where does Pevelsden think he needs to go? Or in fact, because he's part of the reserve, does he want to move at all? Or stay further up the hill? I think Pevelsden will come down slightly. We've all got 4 movement points. Pevelsden himself has 6. So let's bring them down and slightly over to their left. Downhill costs an extra movement point. That's what I thought was really clever about this game. I have never known another game, not in my memory anyway, that actually has here we go, if I can find it. Here we go, on the terrain chart here. +1 for moving downhill using a road. Or +1 for moving downhill at all. Do you see? So any unit moving downhill, it costs +1 movement points. It is hard moving downhill. And in fact, aren't there more twisted ankles or broken ankles or accidents occurred moving downhill after a climb than uphill? Okay, so where was I? So that then, moving 1 is actually going to cost 2, and then 3, and then 4. Moving slightly out here. These guys will do a similar thing. 2, 3. I'll move out here. And their ward commander will come with them. Yep, happy with that. Okay. Now it's the Baron's chip pull. Cornwall. For the king, it's Cornwall's activation. That's this central ward here, the van ward. So Cornwall activates next. I don't want him to get in the way of Prince Edward's ward here. When Prince Edward eventually wakes up, that is. Okay, I think... So that is Cornwall's move. Defensive missile fire is next. And anybody within range of the active ward can use defensive missile fire. So it's just these guys here. Firing downhill at 2 range. He could take a pot shot at Cornwall's ward. But no, I think he'll fire against these missile troops here. Okay, so it's 4 divided by 2 is 2. So that's where we start. The missile range here, we're going to start on column 2. That's our combat factor. And now any modifiers. It's archer unit firing on... Oh, firing unit is at a higher elevation. Yes, that's +1. We're not firing on a cavalry unit. But we are firing at a range of 2 hexes, so that's -1. Okay. So it's just the roll then. And we are firing on combat factor 2. Here we go. What did we roll? Oh, we rolled a 6. Hit. So, there's a good hit on this archer unit here. And we turn them over to their reduced side. So that was a good result there. We could fire back. I don't think we're going to get anywhere, but we'll try it anyway. So that's 1 divided by 4, which is 0.25. That's rounded down, actually. But it's on the lowest. It's on the lowest. So it's on the number 1 missile factor column. And only a 6 will do. So let's roll. And we got a 1. So that's got us nowhere. So I couldn't see that being at all effective anyway, especially as they've just been hit. And there's no melee. So it's the next draw. It's Henry's draw again. Come on, King Henry. Draw a good one. Oh, it's Simon de Montfort's activation. Here we go. You can see how this turn is, this game turn is lasting longer than the last one. And it'll go on until we draw that end turn counter. So Simon de Montfort is now activating. I think there's almost nowhere for him to go. It'll get too crowded, so he'll just bring a single unit down like so. That's Simon de Montfort's activation. Next one. So now the barons pull a chit. And the barons have... there you go. The reason we say who's pulling the chit, it's King Henry or it's the barons, And we started off, look over here. I always go King Henry first, just so that I always know whose turn. Henry pulled that one. Barons pulled that one. Henry pulled that one. And now it's the Baron's turn again. Because here we have either free royal activation or free Baron activation. And obviously it's going to be free Baron activation because they're the ones pulling the chit. So here we go. So initiative has actually changed now. So any of the three wards can activate. It's tempting to have this ward activate here. But I'm not. I'm actually going to withdraw Seagrave. So Seagrave is going to activate and oh dear. I don't know. Okay, I'm actually going to withdraw Seagrave so that any charge by Prince Edward has to charge further uphill. So that is going 3 movement points there. 3 movement points there. Now that may seem slightly negative, but I think what we're doing also is forming a better line here. So we'll see how that goes. Might regret doing that. So that was the Baron's activation. Now King Henry. Come on, what's King Henry going to pull? Declare! Oh, it's the Barons again. So King Henry has pulled Declare. So now Declare activates. And let's just zoom in just a little bit to see exactly what's happening in this battle here. Okay. Declare himself, the ward leader, stayed out of the way at the back. First of all, though, we get defensive missile fire. It's Declare's ward that's just moved, and we get some defensive missile fire. But having said that, the only ones that can fire are these here, and they're firing uphill. They tried this before. They're going to try it again. Okay, it's 1 divided by 4 is 0.25, so we're only rolling on the very lowest column anyway. So I think, if I remember rightly, only a 6 will... Oh, 5. No, that's no good, because he'd get a -1 for being at a lower elevation. So it's a 4. No, okay, so that's no good. Okay, so we do have quite a dangerous melee here then. We'll do this missile fire first. they're going to fire back. So now it's the active missile fire. Yeah, okay, so it's 4 against this guy here. We could end up eliminating this guy. Let's give it a go. So 4 against this guy here. So it's 4 divided by 1, so that's 4. It's on the 4 column. Let's roll. And we rolled a 5 on the 4 column. The firing unit is at a higher elevation, so that's +1, so that's a 6 on the 4 column, and it's a hit. So that's a second hit then on this already reduced unit. We have to perform a morale check. Its morale value is that green there, which is a 1, and we've got to roll 1 or less, equal to or below the morale. In other words, that's not going to happen. I just rolled a 3. That unit is eliminated. Like so. Our first eliminated unit. So I'll place that up there. So that was missile attack. So this unit does not have to advance, and he's not going to do that. So now we've got this fight here. They came to the crest of the hill. They're on a higher elevation than their target unit, and their target unit is none other than the ward leader, Cornwall himself. There he is. There's his shield, with a small group, and it's a 2-factor of mounted knights beneath them. So it's 4 and 4. That's 8 divided by 2. So that's 4. They're going to be fighting on the 4 column of the melee table. Let's roll the dice. Oh, gosh, this could be really important, look. Roll the dice. And it's a 5. It's a 5. Their ward leader cannot get his command over to, well, he can to them. So he can. They are in command. Okay, so 5 plus 2 is 7. Plus 2 for being on higher elevation, 9. Now this is how the digits add up. You have to get yourselves in the right position. So we had plus 2. Plus 2 there, that's plus 4. There's the ward leader, Cornwall. Minus 2, so that's plus 4. Now it's only plus 2, so it's plus 2. So it's the die roll of 5. It's now a 7. And we were on the 4 column. Eliminated. Forget the hit. Eliminated. Wow. So what happens? Well, let me just move Cornwall. This unit is eliminated. Okay, that small unit of knights. They were only a 2 combat factor, look. So they're eliminated. Now, the ward leader, Cornwall, where's he gone? Because his accompanying units were eliminated, he's now captured. He'll be captured and ransomed. So he is out of the game. We turn it over to his subordinate commander, which is Almain. You see, there's the white stripe at the bottom to remind us he's going to be a subordinate commander. His command range is less, it's only 2, and we now plonk him on the closest unit of his ward. So I'm going to place him there. Now, because it was a melee, at least one of the attacking units has to advance into that square. So we'll have this unit here advance into the square. Ho, 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 ho. This small ward here of Declare had a very successful move. They've eliminated 2 of Cornwall's units and they captured Cornwall himself. Excellent move. Okay, we've come back up and we'll draw from the cup yet again. We've had a good turn, haven't we, this time? A good chit draw. So now it's the Baron's activation. Don't look, Paul. Blind draw, blind draw. Oh! End of turn. See? Now look how different this game turn was to the first one. Remember, in the first one, we only drew 1 activation chit and then it was the end of the turn. So this is what happens each time. And now we're end of turn after quite a few activations. And you can see that definitely, look at all these gold ones. It was the Barons that had the initiative in that turn. So now I advance the game turn again, and we're now at 7 AM. There's nothing to tidy, there's no charge counters or anything like that. So all these activation chits go back into our cup and get a good shake. Get a good spin around. It's the King's first pull. What's he going to pull? Oh, and it's actually the King's activation, Henry III activation. Now it's about time. Come on, Henry III activation. First thing I've got to check is that everybody's in command there. He's got a 4 command range, so he's okay. He's okay. He's okay. Because it can go around this way. He's okay. He's okay. He's okay. 1, 2, and 3 back in that way. He's okay. So everybody's in command. So what are we going to do first? We are going to go. There's no movement going to, or is there? Okay. Yes. Movement. 1, 2, 3. This is the right time for me to inform you that you can't move from an enemy zone of control into an enemy zone control. You have to move out first of all, and it would cost 2. For instance, if he wanted to move away from that enemy zone of control, it would cost him an extra 2 movement points to do so. So a total of 3 movement points to extricate himself from that melee. So that was that's just a good point to note. So these men-at-arms here have come around and they're going to come in from the flank. Any more actual movement? No, as regards movement, I think that's it. So first of all, defensive missile fire. And we've got these 2 units here, a 1 and a 1. So that's 2. Who are they going to fire at? They'll fire at one of these units here. Remember, it isn't the hex that they're firing at. They can only fire, according to the rules, at a single unit. So it's 2 versus this 2 here. So we're on the 1 column. There's no elevations or anything like that. No. So it's on the 1 column, so we need a high roll. You need a high roll, guys. And you got a 1. Absolutely useless. Those stones in the staff slings are not much good. So that was that, and now we've got the offensive missile fire. So we've only got 1 missile unit. These archers here Okay, they're on a level, they're on the same level. So it's the 2 divided by 4, so that's 0.5, it's rounded up to 1. Oh. Unless we roll high, that isn't going to be all that good. Oh, 5 on the 1 column. Should we just have a check? 1, 5. Still no result. We needed a 6. I should have remembered that. Okay, so that's got that out of the way. Now. Let's go for a big one. We've got 4 and 4 and 4. 12 against 2. So 12 divided by 2 is 6. That's already very, very high. Any modifiers? Let's see if Henry modifies his guys. He does, because he's in command. Yes, he does. So that's 3. So that's on the 6th column. Let's roll the dice. Oh, we've only got a 1. That's terrible. That's terrible. Good job it's on the 6th column. Or rather, the column that says greater than 4. And we've only rolled a 1. But we get +3 for Henry. And I think that's just about... Oh, infantry attacking a missile unit. So that's another +1. So that's +4 now. He's actually out of command. I think I remember this from last time. Because de Montfort can't get his command through the enemy zones of control. And it's too far to go around. It's the die roll +4. We rolled 1, so it's a 5. Let's have a look at the melee. 5 eliminated. So that missile unit is eliminated. And I can imagine that actually. They're surrounded by men-at-arms. They're gone. Now, one of the 2 guys that attacked, one of the 2 units that attacked, have to... Oh, 3 units that attacked. Has to move into the hex. So I don't think it's all that important which ones. So let's go here. Okay. Now we're having some combat, aren't we? That's excellent. So those 3 units combated. So now we're going to go for Henry Montfort, who's only got a 2 section of knights beneath him. These 2 units will attack Henry Montfort himself. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So we're going to be on the 4 column, we know that. Let's roll our dice. Oh, we got a 6. This is going to be bad for Henry Montfort. Sorry. We're going to plus Henry's 3. So it's going to become a 9. We are actually attacking uphill. So that's +3 for Henry. And then the other guys get a -2 and another -2. So that's -4 from 9 is a 5. And that was on the... which column did we say we were? Yeah, we were on the 4 column. On the 4 column. Hit. So it's a hit. So these guys, at least it's not an elimination, Henry, so you're still around. Over to there. Reduced side. So, a big hit there from Henry's ward. Oh, he's got to battle. If you're in an adjacent hex to another to an enemy unit, then you have to battle. So he's going to have to battle this unit here. It's 4 and 4, so it's going to be on the 1 column. That's in the rules. And he's rolled a 6. He's got Henry with him, so it's +3. He's going to get a -2, so it's only a +1. So it's 7, because we rolled the 6. It's 7 on the 1 column. Melee combat, there's a 1 column. 7, just about a hit. So Declare's ward has had a hit in the flank there. So that's turns to its reduced side, like so. So let's do the next activation. Draw from the cup, swizzle, swizzle, swizzle. Prince Edward's ward. Oh, here we go. Oh, Prince Edward. Now then. Prince Edward, what are you going to do? You've finally woken up. Right, they all have 6 movement points. But all the same, and this is one reason why I moved Seagrave back, they are not going to make it up that hill in 1 turn. Absolutely not. So, we're going to go 1, 2, 3. And then to get up that hill, moving uphill, cavalry that's not charging, and they're not on a charge at this stage, it's an additional 3. So that's actually going to cost 4 to get up there. So that's where they stay. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. The prince himself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually 3, 4, 5, 6 to get up there. 1, 2, and the other 4, 6, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Okay, so that's Prince Edward's turn. He's finally moving. Thank goodness for that. It's the King's draw again. What do we have? And it's Declare's activation. Okay, Declare was successful last turn, wasn't he? He had a good fight against Cornwall here. In fact, he actually captured Cornwall and eliminated 2 of his units. So what are we going to do this time? Moving the archers down. Declare and his knights will move down. I think what's happening here is they want to try and get a result before Edward crashes into Seagrave's ward. Okay, defensive missile fire. There is none. The offensive missile fire from the active unit, which is here, so it's 4. They're going to fire against this pile here, which also contains the leader. So it's 4 against 4, because Almain, he doesn't have a combat factor, but he's got 4 combat factors stacked beneath him. So it's 4 divided by 4. So it's only on the 1, which is not going to be brilliant at all. No, it's not. Okay, but there we go. Are they on a higher? No, they're not. They're just about on the same level. So there's no pluses or minuses. So we're only on the 1 column. So it's whatever the result is. And if memory serves, it needs to be a 6. And we've only got a 4. So there's the 1 column. We get a 4. We get no result. Okay, it was worth a try. We go into melee here. 4 against the 4. And the attacking unit is just about on a ridge line above these guys. So it's 4 and 4. So again, it's only on the 1 column. So let's roll again. What did we roll? We rolled a 4. They're going to get their leader plus, ward leader. So it's +2. They are on a higher elevation, so that's +4. And that's it. Ward leader, yes. So that's -2. So now it's a +2. It's +2, so it's 4 + 2 is 6. On the 1 column. No result! If only they could have got another 1. If only they could have got another 1. Okay, never mind. So this unit has to battle either this unit that hit it in flank or the unit in front of it. The unit that's in front of it, I think. So it's attacking 2 against 4. So it's 2 divided by 4, which is 0.5. We have to round it up to the 1. Now, declares leadership, gives it +2. This will be on the 1 column, remember. So declares leadership, gives it a +2. We're not on a higher elevation. But we are. Ever so slightly. It's on that same crest. So we get a +2 there as well. So that's +4. And that's it. The ward leader down here. Yes, he gives him a -2. So that's a +2. And that's it. So roll the dice. And it's a +2. 3, so that's a 5 on the 1. And we know that that's nothing. Oh gosh, so that was tough. Tough for Declare. Didn't get very far there at all. In fact, it got nowhere. Okay, chip pull. And it's the Baron's pull. You see, you have to... I'll say once again, remember whose pull it is, because it could be free roll activation, but it's not. On the other side, because it's the Baron's pull, free Baron activation. It's very tempting to go again and activate Declare yet again. Yes, we'll go with Declare. And I've just spotted actually an error I made last time. There are 2 units stacked below here. And these missile units can only fire on 1 of them. So they're only firing 4 against 2. I should have remembered that. I don't think it would have made a difference. But let's correct it this time. So it's 4 against just 2. So it's against 1 of those units, okay? So that is... 4 divided by 2, it's 2, so it's on the 2 column rather than the 1. Let's roll a dice. They're on the same level, so there's no pluses or minuses. It's a 4 on the 2 column. No result, but only just about. That's a shame. Okay, let's go with 4 against 4, and they are on a higher elevation. So that's going to be on the 1 column. Let's roll our die. And we've rolled a 1. There's no point doing the additions because there is no way I could get up to 6 or 7. So that activation hasn't helped us out at all. We can just do this activation here. 2 divided by 4 is a half, so it's got to be on the 1 column. Let's roll a die. We get a 3. He gets his command, which is +2. He's just about, I just checked, he's just about on a crest. So he does get a +2 there as well, so that's +4. Whereas this guy here only gets a -1 because it's a subordinate commander. And I've just reminded myself here, a subordinate leader is -1. So we're on +4, now we're on only +3. And that's it, so it's +3. 3 on the 1 column gives us a 6. No result. And again, we just needed 1 more. Oh, we needed 1 more. This is a hard fight here. And it's this hillside, very much so. It's the hillside that's doing it. This is a hard slog. Okay, the next pull. It's now King Henry's pull. Oh! Simon de Montfort's activation. The barons are getting a good go this time. So Simon de Montfort, can he do anything at all to shore this up? I think, because we're not sure where the breakthrough is going to come, I think he has to stay where he is. I really do. Simon de Montfort is going to come forward just very slightly, like so. That's it. That's all. He has to remain in reserve. Next pull. Oh! Another Baron activation. Seagrave. Come on, this is key. What's Seagrave going to do? This is what he's going to do. He's going to go up onto another crest. In fact, what's happening here is drawing Prince Edward up. I'm guessing, you see, that it would be suicidal for them to come down the hill and attack these armoured knights here. There's no defensive missile fire, there's no attacking missile fire because they're out of range. Look, that's it. Okay, another draw. Oh, finally, end turn. There's the end turn counter. And there we go. Look at that for an activation this time. We started with 2 royal units, then we had 4 baronial units, and then end turn. So again, we moved the turn track counter. We started on 5, we went 6 a.m, 7 a.m, it's now 8 a.m. in the morning. That's where we're going to have to leave it. That's where we're going to have to leave this fight. I think we've seen most, not all though, I don't think, but most of these rules. And do you know what? As I mentioned before, there is only 4 pages of rules. There they are. 4 pages of rules. And yet, in those 4 pages of rules, In the Name of Justice does give us a flavour of this period. This is hard man-to-man fighting. There's not huge amounts of manoeuvre in it, admittedly, and yet such an interesting fight. It's going to be like a chess piece, like a chess game. You saw how Cornwall was captured here, and now they have a subordinate commander whose command range is not quite so much and whose influence is slightly less as well, because Cornwall was captured. Now, if that ever happened to one of the army leaders, Henry III, or Simon de Montfort himself, if they were captured, that would be, for instance, game over. But you can see how as well, how interesting the chip pull mechanic is. We're never sure how long a turn is going to take, and also how many wards are going to be activated and in what order. So it constantly changes the initiative. So that has been In the Name of Justice from White Dog Games, designed by Dale Gutt. I've had a real good time. I hope you guys have as well. If you can possibly help me by pressing that subscribe button, please do. It means a lot. And also if you can like the video. Meanwhile, I really hope you've enjoyed it. I certainly have, and I'll see you again next time. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.